coming off a great win against the Carolina Panthers last week. It was tough for the Atlanta Falcons in Week 15 against the San Francisco 49ers. It was really, really hard to watch. Now, at the beginning of the game was actually very competitive, but as the game went on, yeah, it wasn't so great for an Atlanta Falcons fan like me, or maybe you watching this video to watch. However, before I get into this video on the Atlanta Falcons Week 15 performance, make sure to like, subscribe, turn that notification bell. You guys help me out a little bit, and without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now, of course, the Atlanta Falcons, coming off of a very, very good win against the Carolina Panthers last week, had a decent amount of momentum coming into the game this week. However, they weren't able to get a much needed win against the San Francisco 49ers during Week 15 as they lost the game 31-13. Now, of course, we have to address the quarterback situation. Matt Ryan actually put together a good game, going 19 for 32 for 236 yards and 1 passing touchdown. And to be honest, we're going to get more into the O-line later, but Matt Ryan played a good game considering the circumstances. The guy was running around the entire game. He was running for his life. He was under pressure the whole time. I'm going to get more into the O-line later after I get into this next point. I just want to really bring that point up. Matt Ryan had a really good game. Didn't turn the ball over. Had 1 passing touchdown. Somehow managed to pass for 236 yards with that awful offensive line performance they had. But in terms of the overall performance, it's definitely able to get better. This is not the best performance we've seen from Matt Ryan all year. Now, of course, the Atlanta Falcons going to the rushing game, they were shut down really for the first time in 3 weeks. Our team only ran for 62 yards on 23 total carries, and our leading rusher for the game, Mike Davis, only had 21 yards. The Atlanta Falcons also managed to not rush for a single touchdown, and Matt Ryan, a fun fact, was actually second on our team with 20 rushing yards, right under Mike Davis, which tells you everything about the game right there. Matt Ryan is not a rushing quarterback, and I know that Falcons fans definitely know that, but NFL players and NFL fans know that as well. Anytime Matt Ryan is the second leading rusher on your team, that is a problem. That's not only a problem with your rushing game in general, that's also a problem with your offensive line. Matt Ryan, as I said, was running for his life the entire time, which led him to have to run the ball a lot, and even then, he wasn't very successful at it, as you could probably predict, given his play style. The Atlanta Falcons rushing game was straight up terrible, and I am very, very eager to go into next week and try and maybe have a better performance on the rushing, especially the last 3 weeks before this game. We had seemingly found our rushing attack. However, this game, we got clobbered up, and the 49ers played a very, very great defensive game. Now, of course, going to the receiving game, Russell Gage had another very, very great game. Over the last 4 to 5 weeks, Russell Gage has really burst onto the scene as the Atlanta Falcons' best outside wide receiver so far. Caught 8 passes for 91 yards and a touchdown this game, and we also have to mention our rookie tight end and likely Pro Bowl tight end, Kyle Pitts, who also had a great day. 4 receptions for 77 yards. Kyle Pitts had a very, very good game, and I'm really happy that he's developing into the tight end that we all knew he could be. We all know that he is one of the better threats in the NFL when it comes to vertical, when concerning tight ends, of course. I think Kyle Pitts is having a great rookie season. I think Russell Gage is really bursting onto the scene as one of our best and more reliable wide receivers, and that's always great to see. Win or lose, seeing young players develop the way Russell Gage and Kyle Pitts are developing, it's really, really good to see. It's very relieving as an Atlanta Falcons fan to see our young players developing. Of course, going to the offensive line. Yeah, it was a very, very rough performance. After a strong week last week against the Carolina Panthers, yeah, Matt Ryan was running for his life. The Atlanta Falcons O-line allowed 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 10 QB hits. It was really tough for the Atlanta Falcons offensive line. There's not much I can get into with that. The Atlanta Falcons O-line was just bad, and it's plain and simple. Of course, Matt Ryan was under pressure the whole time. Nick Bosa had a really, really good game. The middle of that defensive line for the San Francisco 49ers, they all had very, very good games. The bottom line is that the Atlanta Falcons couldn't get anything going. It's not only the passing game, it's also the rushing game. 62 rushing yards. That is also a partial credit to the offensive line. The O-line was just not good. They couldn't stop defensive ends. They couldn't stop the middle. They couldn't do anything. And I realize that our O-line is young. Most of them been in the league 1, 2, maybe 3 years. However, you need it to get better. If the Falcons plan on contending in the future, or even right now, that offensive line needs to get better. And I believe Arthur Smith is going to try in this offseason or maybe during the draft to really bolster this offensive line up another tier in order to get our offense overall that much better. Now, of course, going to the defense, the Atlanta Falcons defense had a very, very tough performance. They allowed 31 points. However, they did force one fumble and recovered one fumble early in the game. That fumble was recovered by Richie Grant, a rookie defensive back for the Atlanta Falcons. So congrats to him, recovered his first fumble of his NFL career. Congrats to Richie Grant. However, moving on from the turnover, and pretty much the only good news I have for the Atlanta Falcons defense, the Atlanta Falcons coverage was not good. The Atlanta Falcons got carved up by Jimmy Garoppolo. He passed for 235 yards on 18 for 23 passing. Not only did he pass for a lot of yards, he was also accurate. George Kittle had 93 yards on our defensive backs. Deebo Samuel also tacked on 60 more receiving yards and had a couple of rushing yards that game too. So the Atlanta Falcons DBs, they really struggled this game, especially trying to cover the tight ends. And the Atlanta Falcons defensive line, they also had an equal struggle. They allowed 162 49er rushing yards and didn't get a single sack on the game. Now, just like the offensive line, our defensive line is still pretty young. Our defensive line is still developing. However, it's still not good. And if the Atlanta Falcons need and want to contend, you're going to have to develop both of those lines to be at least serviceable, because this right here, this is not a good performance. This performance is something that needs to be worked on. It's something that the Atlanta Falcons, need to go into next week and say, okay, we need to find a way to get pressure on the quarterback and stop people from getting pressure on our quarterback. And I think the Atlanta Falcons really need to address that problem as soon as possible. Now, of course, going to the next week analysis, next week in week 16, we have the Detroit Lions. Now, this game matters a lot for us, and it matters basically zero for the Detroit Lions. They are 2-11-1 on the season, but they did just beat the Cardinals this past Sunday. So they're a dangerous team. They can definitely compete when they're at their best. So the Atlanta Falcons, they shouldn't just whiff at this team and say, okay, easy win, because it's not. The Detroit Lions are a legit team, and they beat the Cardinals last week in pretty much a blowout. It was like 30-17, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Of course, the record does not indicate how good this Lions team actually is. And every game, is a must-win at this point. The Atlanta Falcons have to win this game in order to stay in any sort of playoff contention that we can possibly stay in. A lot has to happen for us to make the playoffs. But if the Falcons want to at least stay in playoff contention, you got to win every game from here on out. Now, of course, the Atlanta Falcons for the analysis sit at 6-8 on the season. And like I said last week, I really think it's time for a rebuild, especially concerning the fact that it would take literally everything to go right for us in order for us to make the playoffs. Very low chance we make the playoffs. We haven't been officially eliminated yet. However, it's nearly impossible for us to make the playoffs now. And at this point, I think we should just sit on this season. We just say, all right, good first season for our first year head coach in Arthur Smith. Our quarterback, we know what he's going through. We know we need to improve, and we need to go into the offseason and improve those things. I think the Falcons should pursue a rebuild. Let me know what you think the Falcons should do after this season, or maybe even during the season, in the comments. But of course, that's going to be the end of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Turn that notification bell. You guys help me out a little bit. TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, all of those links are in the description. You guys help me out a little bit. However, whether you follow them or not, I wish that you on the other side of the screen stay loved and stay blessed. And without further ado, I'm going to end this video. Thank you for watching.